On a cold spring evening in Seattle, Cameron Hayes stayed late at his marketing agency, alone except for the hum of computers and distant streetlights. He was tapping through slides, editing copy, trying to keep his mind busy so he wouldn't think of home. His life had grown quiet in ways he hadn't expected. When did the small talk with Melissa fade into silence? When did her laugh stop being his favorite sound? He glanced at his phone. No new messages. No, how's your day? From her, just a blank screen. He sighed, shutting his laptop, determined to finish the last revisions before heading out as he packed up. Claire Reynolds knocked on the glass partition between their desks. "Hey," she said softly. "Still here?" Claire was the new creative strategist on his team. Confident, efficient, with a kind face that invited conversation. She'd come from another city, bringing fresh ideas and a warmth that brightened dull offices. Cameron forced a polite smile. "Yeah, I wanted to wrap this campaign tonight." She stepped inside his space. "Need help?" she asked. Her voice wasn't flirtatious. It was gentle. He nodded. She sat beside him, and they sorted through the designs together. As they worked, Claire asked questions about his vision for the campaign, about his opinions. She listened when he spoke, truly listened. The contrast between her attention and the silence waiting for him at home pressed on him after they polished the last slide. Claire suggested grabbing coffee at the cafe around the corner. It was late, but open. Cameron hesitated, thinking of Melissa, but something urged him to say yes. "Okay," he said. "One coffee." They walked under empty streets, the city lights reflecting on wet pavement. Inside the cafe, they picked a small table. Claire ordered tea. He took black coffee. They talked, not work, but life. Dream cities they wanted to visit. Books they loved. What drew them to Seattle? Cameron felt the walls around him loosen just a little. When the cafe's lights dimmed toward closing, they stepped out together. Rain began to fall gently. Claire offered her jacket, but Cameron refused. He walked with his hands in pockets. They paused beneath a street lamp. Claire said, "You always tell me what you think about campaigns, but never what you dream for yourself." He looked at her and felt his throat tighten. He wanted to answer, but the words stuck. "I used to draw," he said. "I haven't done that in years." Claire smiled, sad and understanding. They stood there, watching raindrops stream past the lamp. Two people feeling something shift. He returned home late that night. Melissa was asleep. He tiptoed past her, not wanting to wake her. As he slipped in bed, he stared at the ceiling. Guilt and longing warred inside him. He didn't betray her, not yet, but he felt pulled. The next morning, he made breakfast, eggs, toast, coffee, something small. Melissa shuffled in, tired hair, mussed from sleep. She smiled at him, trying to ignite warmth in the routine. "Morning," she said. Cameron handed her a plate. Silence stretched between them. He wanted to talk, to confess, but he swallowed the words. Over the next week. Cameron and Claire met on small pretexts. She needed help brainstorming. He asked her to review a campaign draft. They'd stay after hours. The more time they spent, the more Cameron realized how depleted he was at home. He listened harder when Claire spoke. He laughed more freely. She asked gentle questions about his marriage, and he answered honestly. "We're drifting," he told her. "I don't know how to reach her anymore." Claire didn't judge. She just nodded. She told him she understood emptiness, that it scared her too. Sometimes she felt invisible in her own life. He looked at her then and saw she was carrying her own loneliness. He thought his pain was solitary, but it WASN single quotes T.1 afternoon, after work. Claire invited him to an art gallery show downtown. He almost said no. He'd told Melissa he had reports to file. But something inside him pushed him to accept. He told Melissa he'd be late and left quietly. At the gallery, they walked among muted paintings, soft lights, hushed voices. They talked about color, feeling, what the artist tried to say. In one room, Claire paused before a painting of a woman staring out a window, raindrops on glass. She said, "This feels like a soul waiting for warmth." Cameron felt stuck in that image. He realized that woman could be him, or Melissa, or Claire, anyone yearning to be seen. They left the gallery together and walked back under streetlights. The air was soft with rain's breath. Claire turned to him. "I don't expect anything," she said. "But I want you to know you're seen." Karen's chest tightened. He wanted to tell her the same, but the words stayed hidden. They parted at the corner, each walking away with heavier hearts than before. Back home, Melissa had left a note. "I miss you. When can we talk?" Cameron froze. The note felt like a bridge or a burden. He wasn't sure. He carried it with him into the next day, unable to read more. At work, he found Claire waiting by his desk. She looked at him with knowing eyes. "Everything okay?" she asked gently. He nodded, though inside things were fracturing. One evening, Melissa confronted him softly at dinner. "You've been different," she said. Her voice wasn't angry, just broken. Cameron didn't know what to say. He wanted to tell her truth, but the shape of it had shifted. "I'm tired," he said instead. "I feel disconnected." Melissa reached across the table, took his hand. "So do I," she whispered. The air trembled between them. They sat in silence, facing a love eroded by time and silence. But even as guilt pressed on him, Cameron felt clarity. Something inside him was waking again, an ache for connection, for honesty, for a path he hadn't known he needed. That night, he lay awake again, thinking of Claire's eyes, Melissa's touch, and the sharp divide between them. He realized the line was thinner than he thought, and he wondered how long before someone crossed it. Part 2 picks up right after Melissa leaves the note in the kitchen and reveals that she knows something is wrong. The tension is thick in the air, sharp and unexpected. Cameron wakes up feeling the weight of that note as if it started the day already late. He gets ready, but every task feels heavier than it should. At work, his mind drifts to Melissa's quiet strength, to Claire's eyes. Every word from Claire in the last few weeks replays in his mind. Claire senses the shift. She arrives at the office early that morning. She and Cameron exchange a brief good morning, but the tone is different, quieter, loaded. As they begin work, the usual banter is replaced by cautious glances. Both avoid asking too much, afraid of answers. Midday, Claire asks for a meeting in the conference room. Under the pretext of reviewing campaign results, inside, papers lie spread out, screens displaying graphs. But the air is not businesslike. She says, "I felt lately we're both trying to be parts of things that don't fit." Her voice shakes just slightly. Cameron nods, knowing exactly what she means. He takes a breath. "I care about you, Claire. But I also care about my marriage. I'm lost." Claire listens, her eyes filling with understanding and sadness. She responds, "I didn't want to cross lines. I didn't want to be the cause of pain. But I can't pretend nothing's happening." They both sit in silence. The meeting ends without consensus. They return to their desks, both changed. After work, Cameron drives home. Rain begins. He wants to call Melissa. He wants to tell her the truth. But he also fears it. Fear of hurting her, of causing a rupture. He parks the car, sits for a moment in the dark, watching raindrops slip down the windshield. Then he doesn't call. He goes home. Inside, the house is quiet. Melissa is cooking. The smell of something familiar, warm. Cameron walks in and leans against the doorframe. Melissa looks up, offering a faint smile. "You're home late," she says. Cameron forces a smile back. "Had to finish something?" They eat dinner in quiet. Utensils on plates. He watches her eyes. She tries to seem normal. She talks about her shift at the hospital. He nods. He listens. But every few seconds, he catches his reflection in the window, tired, split between two emotions. Over the next few days, the strain grows. Melissa starts asking small questions. "You seem distant. Everything okay at work?" Cameron answers carefully, half-truths. He doesn't tell her about Claire meeting him in the conference room. He doesn't tell her about the moment Claire said she couldn't pretend. He tries to reconnect at home, suggests watching a movie, going for a walk, but Melissa declines or seems too tired. Their silence returns, but now with guilt layered in. Meanwhile, Claire continues being supportive at work. She shows up early, stays late, helps Cameron with slides and brainstorming. Their conversation grows deeper. One day they share lunch at a small cafe. It's just a people, but the emotional undercurrent is strong. Claire shares something about her own past, a time she felt invisible, a time she lost trust in herself. Cameron shares bits too, about Melissa, about the distance. He tries to stop himself from saying more than safe, but he dequates two after lunch. They walk back in drizzle. Claire apologizes softly. This isn't fair to you or to her. Cameron says nothing. He knows she means it, but something in him also wants to hold on to the support she offers. The seeing, the empathy because he feels lost. Then comes the gallery opening night, a moment already foreshadowed. Cameron had told Melissa he'd have a late work meeting. Instead, he meets Claire at the opening. The artwork, raw portraits, and abstract emotion pulls at him. He sees pieces that feel like his own heart, torn between loyalty and longing. Claire points at a painting of two figures reaching toward each other but separated by shadow. She says quietly, "This is us." Cameron turns. He sees both the truth in that and the danger. They leave and walk in dim streetlight. The air smells of rain and pavement. Claire stops. She says maybe things changed. Cameron's chest tightens. He wants to tell her he feels it too, but fear closes his mouth. They part without touch, without promise. The ache remains. Back home, Melissa is awake. She offers him tea. He sits, confused. He wants to tell her everything, but the risk of breaking her heart holds him back. She asks him simply, "Are you okay?" He nods, though he isn't. That night alone, Cameron lies awake. Memories flood. Early days with Melissa, laughter, closeness. Then darker days of silence. Then Claire's kindness. He wonders who he's becoming. Claire texts him later. "I wish things were different." Melissa leaves another note. "I want to believe we still can be us." Cameron sits between the phone and the fridge's light, unable to decide what to say, what to do first, who to share truth with. The walls between hearts are closing in. One step more, and everything could fall. After weeks of tension, Cameron knew the moment had come. The walls he held up between himself, Melissa, and Claire were too worn to stand. The late nights, the secrets, the distance, they all demanded a reckoning. He arranged a meeting at a quiet cafe in the evening, telling Melissa he needed to talk. He also invited Claire, saying he wanted to be honest. The cafe was small and dim, with warm lights and few people inside. Cameron arrived first, his heart pounding. He sat at a round table near the window, watching the rain fall outside. He carried the weight of every choice, every silence, every promise unkept. He told himself this was for truth, not for escape. Melissa came in next, looking steady and composed despite the tension in her eyes. She sat across from him, hands folded. After a moment, Claire entered, hesitating at the doorway. Her eyes found Cameron's and then Melissa's. She walked slowly to the table. No introduction, no apologies. A presence that shifted the room. Cameron cleared his throat. "Thank you both for coming," he said. "I know this is hard, but I can't continue hiding things. I want honest and no lies tonight." Melissa nodded. Claire's face was calm but vulnerable. Cameron began. He spoke first to Melissa. He told her how lonely he had felt, how he had shut her out without meaning to. He admitted that Claire's kindness had filled a gap he hadn't known was there. His voice trembled when he confessed the line he nearly crossed. The emotional moments he shared with Claire's tolling glances, late work conversations, shared dreams. Melissa listened. Her expression didn't break into anger. Instead, she looked sad and weary, as someone who had loved and lost bits of herself over time. When Cameron paused, she spoke. "I have felt invisible too," she said. "I thought we were drifting apart, but I hoped we could find a way back." Claire swallowed. She looked between them. "I never meant to break your marriage," she said. "I was caught in something I didn't recognize at first." But I care deeply for both of you, maybe more deeply than I should." The words hung in the air. The rain outside softened, tapping lightly on windows as though nature waited too. Melissa took a deep breath. Maybe we all have parts to heal. She turned to Claire. "I don't hate you. I don't deny your pain. If we move forward, I want honesty, not secrets." Cameron felt relief and fear in the same breath. He nodded. "I will be honest. No more hiding." They sat in silence, three broken people staring at each other. No one knew how to fix it. But in that raw moment, a fragile possibility formed. Maybe truth and respect could come before decisions. Over the next days, their lives shifted. Cameron asked for leave from work to spend evenings at home, talking with Melissa. He encouraged Claire to focus on her projects outside his life. They all faced the difficult question: can trust rebuild when walls have fallen? Melissa and Cameron began couples therapy. They cried, they argued, they remembered why they fell in love. Melissa shared how the silence wounded her. Cameron apologized for drifting and hiding. He pledged to see her again, to value the small moments they once shared. Claire retreated for a time. She took a trip to visit family to clear her mind. She wrote in her journal about love, mistakes, boundaries. She realized she needed distance to heal and to allow Melissa and Cameron to rebuild. When Claire returned, Cameron and she met one last time. They sat in the same cafe where the confession began. They spoke softly. Claire thanked him for honesty. Cameron thanked her for bringing truth, even if painful. They parted with a quiet hug and no promises. In time, Melissa and Cameron made small progress. They walked together, held hands, rediscovered laughter. The wounds didn't vanish overnight. They stayed tender, but the openness between them grew, and they started planning small things: dinners, art nights, movie walks. Cameron continued working, but no more after-hours secrets. He refused extra shifts that meant hiding. His loyalty changed from avoidance to presence. One evening, months later, Cameron and Melissa sat in their living room by a single lamp. Photos of better times lined a shelf. Soft music played. She leaned her head on his shoulder. He held her hand gently, as though relearning how to touch. No words were needed. Claire's presence faded into a memory. Not a betrayal, but a crossroads that forced truth. She lived in their story now as someone they once entwined with, not an enemy. But a part of what led them back to each other, Cameron sometimes thought of Claire. The way she understood him, the way she listened when no one else did. He didn't regret the honesty. He regretted the distance he once allowed with Melissa. He learned that love needs tending, not silence. Melissa, in turn, learned that vulnerability isn't weakness. She opened up more, shared her fears, asked for affection. She no longer waited for him to find her. She let him in. Their marriage didn't become perfect. It was raw, fragile, but alive. And they decided together it was worth saving. In the quiet night, Cameron looked at Melissa and whispered softly, "Thank you for staying." She breathed into his shoulder. And in that silent space, they rebuilt something real.